What's going on, everybody? Today is Sunday, October 13th. This is episode 4 recap of Survivor 47, the final 15. And I don't know about you, but this is the shocker of the season for me so far. I Keyshawn going home was not on my radar at all. Even like 10 minutes before Tribal, or whenever Genevieve had that thought, like
Mhm.
he really was not even an option. And I didn't think he was doing anything too crazy. Um, and then Rome, intentionally or otherwise, threw the man under the bus. And just like that, he's gone.
Yeah, I even yeah, like you said, even going into tribal, even as the votes were being read, I didn't think it was going to be Kishan. And this is well, I'm sure we'll get into it a little bit, but like the debate of when are you tinkering too much with what you want to do in the pre-merge, and when is it just a good decision to go straight forward, and when is it a good decision to take a shot like this? Um, I think I was like more on the fence about like my opinion on that until Keyshawn's like little exit thing where he was like, "Yeah, she like pegged me for well exactly what I was doing." It's like essentially what he said, and I was like, "Oh shit, I thought she was like being a little like paranoid trying to go after Keyshawn for like wanting her to be the decoy, but like I think that little just moment at the end there, I was like, oh, she did read that situation right, and she was going to be on the bottom if they voted, Rome out or Saul out, and she was she was his next target anyway. So like that changed my opinion on whether I thought it was a good move or not.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised by the wording there too. I at first kind of thought that he meant she figured out that he was trying to use her as a decoy.
Mm-hmm.
But the more I thought about it, kind of the wording was maybe that was a real thing that he was trying to pull off there. But um, yeah, ultimately, this tribe is just like it's not the same thing, but it kind of remind like Sugar and Gabon is the example I always pull for this of a player who is definitely not the best player and arguably like one of the worst players, but they are the straw that stirs the drink. Like for
Mm-hmm.
whatever reason, their actions are the one that impact the tribe the most. Like that was her and Gabon. That's why everybody kind of thinks that like Gabon is an unsatisfying finish, is because the whole thing is just like Sugar's emotions switching and not wanting to vote anybody out, going back and forth, like drives the whole post merge.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like kind of the thing with Rome is he's like I think Keyshawn goes home. Like if when Rome and Keyshawn have the thing of like we should like they're he's fine with letting Soul go. Rome is the one who's like we should probably give him a name. And then Keyshawn, his mistake is saying Genevieve's name. He should just be like, yeah, we got to think of like a name to give him, because I don't think he has the plan to vote out Rome yet. But once he does come up with a plan to vote out Rome, then like Rome wanting to say a name of someone that's in their alliance, that it just adds to it then, right? So
Right.
I think that just the timing of it, and like I think he should have not been so willing to say Genevieve's name, because then then Rome is the one who like kind of made him say that, or not made him say it, but kind of like extorted him into saying that. He's a
Mm-hmm.
big extortion guy this
Big,
episode.
big, big extortion guy.
And yeah, and then he uses that, and that's why I said purposely or otherwise, because he uses it to get Genevieve to target Kishan, but I don't know if he did that intentionally. It was kind of like, hey,
No, I
you're
do.
the
He did not.
yeah. He was kind of like, yeah, you're the decoy. And then she's like, well, who said that? And then he was like, well, it was Keisha. Like he
Yeah.
tried to say like, don't worry about it, but like
Yeah. He's
it
so bad
was
that it doesn't matter. Like anything he wants to do, it has the opposite effect.
yeah. But I did like Genevieve's logic of, and I even said this last week, that they spent time on the Genevieve and Rome relationship in episode 1 for a reason. Was she was popped in with Rome, and then she was invisible for like 2 weeks, and now it's bearing fruit. And yeah, I think that was a good read of like he's an idiot, but he's my idiot,
Right.
and he is fiercely loyal, even if
Mhm.
it's really clunky and messy.
Right. And that's kind of what I was getting at before was that move, I think, was riding the line of tinkering tinkering yourself to death versus making a genuinely good move. And I think it ended up falling on the good move part of it solely because I think that is what Keyshawn was trying to do. Like if he did the same thing and his intentions weren't ultimately to get Genevieve out or she like even if he wanted to work with her in the future, he just happened to throw her name out as a decoy. I think that move falls on the side of tinkering yourself to death. Like you don't need to do that. Just vote out the like what's going to put you in the numbers like right now. And because I feel like players nowadays get so caught up in like obviously you want to make it to the merge, right? Like that's like the first point. That's where the game starts essentially. Like no one cares about your resume pre-merge, and I feel like a lot of players nowadays think it matters, and like they're taking risks that they otherwise wouldn't, and that might get them to the merge in the in the past if they just didn't take the risks, you know. And they're like
Hmm.
trying to build this resume from the start when like ultimately if you can make it to the merge, we did the pre-merge doesn't really matter because not everyone saw those moves and they're not going to take them at face value or objectively. So I don't I don't necessarily know if taking big swings pre-merge is really worth it, like the risk versus the reward. But after that speech there, I do think this was the right move because those were Keyshawn's intentions. It ended up being a good read versus a risky boot.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's kind of funny where this one, based on the preview for next time, you know, you can get into if Rome using the steal a vote was a mistake or not, um, because I think like you still hold the tension of Rome versus Seoul like that still is a thing. Like I think if you're Genevieve, you're still safe, um, but I think it does kind of set up for a two versus two scenario of her and Rome against Teeny and Seoul,
Mm-hmm.
because Teeny, whatever she's up to, she does seem to still be kind of tight with Soul, but I mean Genevieve and Soul had the moment where they're kind of together now. They vote together in this episode. I think they were unsure of if Soul would be willing um, to write down Keyshawn's name if he was just so stuck on voting Rome, and if that was the case, then not taking Keyshawn's vote would have led to a 2v2.
Right.
But now you're in a genuine 2v2, and you probably would really like the vote steal. But that being said, it looks like we get a tribe swap next week, so
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
I I I like the vote steal play here, and that, it does go back to exactly what I was saying before, which was, you know, you don't if you have the ability to avoid risk. It's all about risk mitigation, in my opinion, in the
Hmm.
pre-merge. If you have the ability to avoid risk, I think you should do it. And Rome does not trust Soul as far as he can throw. So I think that like he's going into tribal thinking, I know me and Genevieve are gonna vote for Keyshawn. I don't know if anyone else is, so I might as well use the steal vote just to secure what we want to do. So I think I actually do agree with this. Probably the first time all season where I agree with what Rome's doing.
I'm just waiting for the him and Soul relationship to go from like the two people that are at each other's throat the whole time to like a slowly develops into a mutual respect, and then they can kind of work together. But that's the issue with that is I don't think Soul will ever respect Rome. I think he thinks he's like the dumbest, most immature person he's ever met.
I'm like so watching that episode last week. I was so in Soul's head. I'm like, me and you think exactly the same way because like he kind of in his confessionals, he kind of voices a lot of like more so than other players like why I was made this conscious decision in this conversation to do something. I feel
Hmm.
like players don't. They talk about the conversation and what happened and what they ultimately did. But I feel like Soul is definitely more intentional in talking about like I was thinking this here and this is why I made this decision to say this in this conversation. And
Mhm.
like I appreciate that because it is nice to know. And because we get a lot of him saying like, all right, like I'm in this position, so I can't tell this person X. And so I need to react to what they're telling me in this specific way, which is like really interesting to like hear from someone on the island because I feel like we don't get that perspective very often. But I was like so in his head, like in agreement with him, with like he's like I cannot believe he didn't square up with Rome. Like Rome was being so like just like dropped. He's like, I cannot believe this guy is treating me like this. Like I may have punched him, like
Yeah,
if I was out there.
it was absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah,
The level that he went to, like when he goes and sits on the beach, he's like, "I'll go sit on the beach with you." And he's
yeah,
like, he's obviously not doing anything. So yeah, that's overkill. He sent Genevieve in for that one, and she immediately improved on the
yeah,
situation.
exactly. And I do want to like give some additional points to Genevieve here for um doing something that's really hard to do in Survivor, which is getting two people who don't like each other on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
Which is
Yep.
like she deserves points because that's completely on her. I think is
Yep.
was her ability to get Soul and Rome to vote the same way, and that's really hard to do, especially when they both want to vote each other out. Like they're each other's number one target, and she gets them to vote for a third person, both of them to do it. I think that was really impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought so too. She, after being really quiet, I feel like she's been very solid.
Mm-hmm.
Um so the other thing I want to talk about with Soul real quick is that his articulation, like you're kind of getting into this, but his ability to break down situations and kind of put you in the situation, and like he recaps what we do see, but it always seems like it's the perfect amount of like behind the scenes, or the perfect amount of like his thoughts mixed into it,
Mm-hmm.
to where like everything he says is interesting to me. He's the most
I
interesting man
agree.
in the world.
He is, I think, the most like I pine for his confessionals.
It's a yearning.
It is. It is. I do. Every time he shows up on the screen in a confessional, I am excited to hear what he has to say, and basically just shit on Rome, but like in an articulate way.
Yeah, which is funny because like the first week, I don't even know if we really heard him say much, but I was like, this guy seems just very boring, and
Mm-hmm.
he's very not. So that's
Yeah.
cool. Um, I think too, we touched on the extortion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Rome, I think that he might be. He has a little bit of like evil genius in him.
Yeah.
Like I don't think he is a genius. I don't know that he is like a
That
good
would leave him at
player.
evil.
Yeah, it's almost like him and Genevieve. Well, Genevieve doesn't need someone to strategize for her, but like
Mm-hmm.
her social delivery of his strategic decisions is like he needs to just make a plan and only tell her, and then let
Yeah.
her enact it,
Well.
because the extortion thing, it's not a bad idea. It's just the way that he delivers it, of like, this is great logic where, hey, if you wanna work with me, I have a steal a vote. So like
Mm-hmm.
the three of us is 3 votes and 5. Like that'll work. But then the problem is being like the way he so aggressively is like, yeah, but if you don't give me your shot in the dark, I'm stealing your vote. Like he
Yeah.
should have just said, "Can I get the shot in the dark? And if you give it to me, like I think we could work together."
Right.
And don't say the second part, but if he doesn't give you the shot in the dark, then you steal his
You
vote.
still
Like
do
then
the
you actually
second. Yeah.
enact it.
Yeah. That's
You don't have to evil like movie villain tell him the whole plan in
right.
order for the
In a
plan to still
monologue.
work.
Monologue at him. Yeah. Like I had the same read this week where I think if you didn't show me Rome on the screen but gave me bullet points of something a Survivor player did or like their plan, I'd be like, this is pretty good. Like this is like
Hmm.
some solid planning here. And then you tell me it's Rome, and I'm like, oh, no way he executed it right. Like, and that is the thing, is like he is the schemer, and he just needs every interaction to be with other tribe members to be through Genevieve, because
Yeah.
she can execute it socially. We think so far, or someone who's good socially, not specifically Genevieve, but and Yeah, he like as he was doing that, I'm like, this is something I would do. I'm like, I have no problem like if I'm out there extorting someone's vote, like. But the issue is then the bridges you burn worth the vote
Yeah.
that you're getting, right? So if you can have that plan and come up with a way not to burn the bridge but still extort the vote, then that's the goal, right? So
Well,
I did like the way he played this week. It's just he didn't execute anything well, I guess.
yeah, he really needs an ally to go home. And for like in the like even if it's a tribe swap next week, he needs a person that he's working with very closely to go home. And for
Mm,
that person to like it also just very easily could have been him on that night because he does have a good mind for the game, but he's like reinforcing bad behavior where he has been like kind of a dickhead, kind of like very obviously out in front. I would say pushing all the wrong buttons socially,
hmm
but then because he had all these advantages, then Teeny and Kashan voted with him at their first tribal council. And then he's like, yeah, like I'm down to ride for the alliance, like double, triple down, like be a dickhead to Soul, like extortion, all this shit. And
right.
then because of Genevieve, like he was going to get voted out, but because of Genevieve, he stays again. Like the threat was never that serious. There was about 30 seconds between her telling him that that he was a target
Mhm.
and her then explaining her plan to save him. There was a 30-second
Yeah,
window that he actually was at risk in his mind. And so he needs just a reality check because I think that if he just slows down and like realizes that he needs to talk to people like people
right.
and like realizes that he's not the main character. Like he is obsessed with being like the challenge spot or the hero spot in the challenges, and which that was hilarious too. Not
That
getting a
was
single
horrible.
puzzle piece.
Horrible.
Um, but yeah, I think he just needs, as John Cena would say, an attitude adjustment. I think I think he just
Yeah,
needs to.
I think how how he's behaving. This is actually the first time in a long time where I felt that what happens on the island is a good allegory for society in general.
But it's a
Because like
social experiment.
exactly, and I haven't felt like it's been that for a long, long time
Mm-hmm.
about how when they go out there, like this is actually a social experiment about how people interact on the island. That's not how it is anymore. But the way Rome is behaving, I do kind of like see how he is as a person in real life and can relate that to other people that I know where like they just make all of the wrong choices along the way but still end up at in like it still ends up working out for them and you like see them make all the wrong steps and all the wrong steps and you're like this has got to be like end in disaster and then it just ends up fine and you're like
Mm-hmm.
you like go through life just being like, you know, I don't wish bad for this person, but I kind of hope that they do like their actions do end up like failing one time just so that they know they're not right. And it's more of like he thinks he is really smart and really right in every decision he makes, and he's making the best decisions when us as an audience know that he is not objectively not making the right decisions, but it's still
Mm-hmm.
working out for him. So it's reinforcing that behavior. And I just can, I we see that with people in real life too. That happens with in real life, and I just felt for the first time that that was something that translated well from Survivor to real life.
Yeah, and I think part of it too was is Soul as a foil for that because
Mm,
he like because typically like Rome is in the numbers, right? He's in the alliance, and you know the extortion plan that he has, there is really nothing you can do about it, right? It's
yeah,
like it is pretty airtight, and so the only thing that could you know start to kind of chip away at this obvious advantage is like an old school Survivor mentality of like, why don't we just vote this guy out because he's a jerk?
right.
And I think there's a lot of people that, because of Rome's position, they would bite their tongue and they try to, you know, do some damage control and like get into his good graces. And then it's like you're like bootlicking for this guy that you fucking hate. Whereas Soul is like,
You're
I
sounding
respect.
dangerously close to being a socialist right now.
No, I'm just saying, like, Soul respects himself too much to do that, and he even said to Genevieve, like, she really has to convince him. He's like, this is just a thing. I can't not vote for Rome. I like, after everything that's happened between us, I have to vote for him, and like that. It is an old school Survivor thing of like, someone being a jerk in the good position, and it's, you just need the minority, or the bottom of the majority to go with the minority, and to say like, yeah, we're in a good position, but just day to day, minute to minute, I don't enjoy what is going on, and let me flip the script, because I can be in a similar situation with these people if I want to. And I think I enjoy that. I like that people are getting checked for their social faux pas.
Yeah, you're dangerously close to saying workers own the means of production there. With like, if we all just acted together, we could take down the jerk. We own the power. You can't run Amazon if we all don't work for him. The argument you were just making.
Just bust out like a sickle, like over.
Yeah. No, but I agree with you. Yeah, like it gets to a point where like, if everyone is just like, we just don't like having this guy around, it doesn't matter how much power he has, as long as he doesn't have an idol or has immunity. Like, you can vote him out.
Yeah, I do wonder if Teeny didn't know, or if Teeny didn't say that she didn't have a vote. Like, obviously, I don't think he was ever going to steal Teeny's vote, but if he tries to steal Teeny's vote, does she have to say like, I don't have a vote, or does it get wasted? Like, okay, you get Teeny's vote tonight, and then you get to go read her parchment that there's no vote.
That's interesting. I think Jeff would make him pick someone else.
Okay,
is how it would work.
That's kind of what I think too.
Yeah, I don't know. That's never happened. I guess.
Which would be interesting too, considering that she didn't. In that scenario, she would not have told anybody that she doesn't have a vote.
Right. I don't know.
So that like outs her for no fucking reason.
Actually, I'm going to reverse my opinion for absolutely no reason other than I just thought about it for like 10 more seconds. I do think that, I think he might lose the steal vote. I think it is one of those things where Jeff, the production is like, you're not getting any additional information from us that you wouldn't have
right
in the rest of the game, and you stole someone's vote or doesn't have a vote, so that means you still have 1 + 0 is 0, or 1 + 0 is 1, so you still have 1 vote.
Yeah, because you're not stealing a vote, you're stealing Teeny's vote.
Right.
So like, he says like,
does not exist. The limit does not exist.
Right. All right, let's talk about some other tribes here. Do you like the yellow or the blue tribe more?
I hate everyone on the blue tribe.
All right, let's do some yellow tribe first then. This is very interesting. This is a little bit of trouble in paradise week for Sierra and Sam, who seem like have been in what is the saying? The catbird seat? Is that what it is?
I don't know. I don't know what that is. Never heard that.
I think that's a thing. But yeah, they've kind of been out in front where like they're both kind of working with the girls in like this 4-person thing. Sierra probably more closely, but off to the side they've developed this kind of 3-person deal with Andy. And Andy, I will say, he has done a very good job of landing on his feet after failing to land on his feet, like, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
like he's hit it's like he fell out of a building and he's hit the balcony on like 7 different floors, but miraculously when he hit the balcony on the first floor, then falling to the ground, he actually lands on his feet.
Yeah, it just spun him by happenstance in the right direction.
Correct. Yeah. So yeah, it's more just by Sam's will that he's not completely cooked.
Yeah.
Than anything that he's actually doing. But now we kind of compared him to Banu at the beginning of the season, and it's like, all right, he's not that bad, but he is Banuing a little bit here, where he like and this is Sierra's fault though, honestly, because she has this breadwinners alliance with with Annika and Rachel, and they like, Andy sees it as a big thing that she was willing to tell him the alliance name, and he says that's she's throwing that alliance under the bus. Like if she's willing to tell me all the details about it, she must trust our alliance more, which I actually think is sound logic. I do think she's probably ultimately keeping her options open, which for her a swap, she is like I think maybe the safest person unless she swaps with absolutely none of them,
Right.
because all 5 people or all 4 other people on that tribe think that she's in a final 3 with them. So that's really big. But so she tells Andy about this, and Andy's like, I forget the exact wording, but it was essentially like your secret's safe with me. And then he goes and tells Sam. So it's like he thinks he's doing a good thing because Sierra tells him this information. She's like, I'm trying to build trust with Andy. Andy's trying to build trust with me. I'll tell him this information. Andy says, okay, that's great. Great information from my number 2 ally, Sierra. I must go tell my number 1 ally, Sam.
Right.
Sam takes in this information and he goes, that's great information from my number 2 ally, Andy. Let me go tell my number 1 ally, Sierra. And then all of a sudden, he's mad that she didn't tell him, which I do think is valid. And she's like, well, I didn't come up with a name. It's like, I don't think he's mad about what the name is.
Right.
He's mad that he has stopped getting the details, the flow of information from her.
He wasn't even mad that she was in this alliance. He's just mad that she didn't tell him about it, which I would like to see a timeline breakdown for this to see if she had the opportunity to tell him. Yeah.
I do think she did.
Yeah,
it seems like every time they get together, they're just like breadwinner. Like that's it's mentioned in like 4 different settings.
Because then, the way he reacts makes me think that too. That like they had multiple strategic conversations since the alliance had been formed. That she had the opportunity to say something and didn't.
Right.
Which is crazy that she trusted Andy with that information, but not him.
Yeah, I think it's almost like one of those like drunk conversations where you're like the topic of conversation that you're on is fine, but you just start rambling to the point where it's like you're just devolving way too much, and it's like, why did I trust this person enough to tell them this? It's like, oh, it's because I'm hammered, right? But she's not hammered; she's just hungry. I think.
And Andy is like he's transitioned from he and Rome are like two ends of the same like extreme
Spectrum.
They're like 2 ends of the same spectrum. They're like on so far to the left and to the right that they almost meet in the middle, but they're like have just like subtle enough differences where like Andy has turned into this like lovable idiot where like he messes up and everyone goes, oh, you goof, and like then
George Costanza.
He is like a George Costanza-esque character. And Rome is like he's so dumb that he pisses everyone off.
Right.
So like very subtle
aggressively dumb.
Aggressively dumb, which could also be George Costanza. And that's what I mean. They like they Costanza into one person. And it's just it's interesting to see how like similar they are, but like how they are perceived differently by their tribes.
Yeah, I'm trying to. There's like a rap lyric. I'm trying to think. I think it's like a J. Cole thing about like
is it a Sam rap lyric.
Yeah, fucking oh my god. And he's like, yeah, that was bad. And they're like, no, that's so great. It's like, no, that was bad.
That was bad.
But yeah,
that's rough to do that on national television. Or like the camera guy's sitting right there. He's like, nah, I'm just messing around.
If the camera guy is in my field of view, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Actually, oh, that's what it is. I think it's a Little Dicky thing where he says nothing's worse than when a moron's repetitive. This is like that's a Rome thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I had a better train of thought, but I had to get that off.
Yeah.
It was so worthless. But yeah, I do think that I think that a swap is really going to benefit Sierra. I'm interested to see what happens with, say, if Sam swaps with like Annika and Rachel, right? To where they're kind of onto Annika and Sam specifically, like they're kind of onto each other, but like neither one has really genuinely acted against the other one, and like so without that kind of sub level of it, on the surface they are still allies. Like
Right.
it's still like the group of four. Andy's next since day 2 or whatever the hell it is. So
I do think in that scenario, Annika's the type of person to act against Sam in that scenario. Like she is the type of player that in a tribe swap where they have the majority to turn on one of her own people. Like I just feel like, and then everyone else is just, yeah, we agree with that. It's not us, so we're good.
Yeah, like so there's what 14 people left. So I think I saw. 7. Yeah, I was gonna say I think I saw which this is my favorite swap that exists in Survivor is Final 14 swap to 2 tribes of 7, especially if you start on 3 tribes.
Yeah,
so I like that this is an odd number season, which means we're probably gonna do this again in 48. And I am interested to see. I wasn't paying super close attention in the preview, but I think Jeff said something along the lines of like something being a Survivor first. And I'm wondering if it is the first time in the new era they're doing the swap, but that wouldn't really. What if he just completely memory hold that he acted like Survivor 41 was Survivor 1?
Survivor 1.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm interested to see. Like, I wonder if it's maybe some way that the tribes are going to break down. Because if you think about it, really, Jeff isn't in the episodes all that much. So when you get a Jeff quote, you know it's probably either at the swap, or I'm assuming they swap and then immediately do probably a reward challenge. So it's either like on the mat there or tribal council. Or maybe something happens at the immunity challenge, but
it was like it was definitely like at a swap, like pre-challenge type of vibe. I don't know. I didn't really. I heard the same quote, and I don't really know. We're getting to the point where like not much new stuff can happen.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. Is like, what the fuck did they do?
Yeah. Did they swap to maybe? This would be crazy. 3 uneven tribes, or even 2 uneven tribes. Like if they went like 9 and 5.
They started dabbling in that in like the mid 30s. Remember, they would swap to. I think that was when they'd start with 2 tribes, and they'd swap to 3 tribes at say 16, and then like whoever loses the first, like one person goes to exile or whatever.
Yeah,
and then whichever tribe loses and votes someone out first, they just get that person back.
That's specifically remember had to do with like when they were sending people to like on exile and things like that. That's why they did it. Like I don't think they've ever done like a true like you guys are just uneven,
right?
Which wouldn't make much sense to do that, but like
I feel like that maybe has. Oh well, that's a really really old one. I want to say it's I think it's Marquesas that the tribes are I think 7-4 when they do a swap, and they just have like 3 people from each tribe switch buffs, but it's still a 7-4 disparity.
So. Well, what if they let them draft? That'd be cool.
That was my first thought actually.
Yeah,
I wonder if, but I still think like
you draw rocks to see who picks.
That's happened to start a season. I don't know if they've ever. No, I think Exile Island was a draft. Maybe not.
I certainly don't remember.
Yeah, I think their swap might have been a draft.
That'd be cool though. I'd be down for that. A draft.
Yeah, that would be pretty sweet. That's also a big like they want to inject all this stuff into the game to cause drama. That's like the pecking order challenge times 1,000. It's like you're gonna let these people choose. And I also do think too, just so that you're not completely fucking over one person, like if Sam is the captain, if he picks Sierra, the Sierra should be the next person to pick, like for that, and they should go down like that.
Yeah,
because that's interesting too for somebody like. I mean, imagine like Sam picks Sierra, and then her next pick, like you
She
have
has to decide between her alliance and Andy.
Yeah, you either have to commit to this thing with Andy, or you have to pick one of the girls.
What if you just pick somebody completely else, random?
Right.
That
Yeah,
might be the move.
I wonder if that you know what they should do? A draft, and then they should do that where like whoever's picking, like they're whoever gets picked, they're the next one to make a pick. You can't pick someone from your original tribe.
Yeah. Yeah, they have like rules with it. Yeah, because I'm sure
until
Jeff
it gets like way down to it.
If they were gonna do that, Jeff had thought out all of the possible routes that people could go. Because I do think if you're swapping to 2, at some point you have to pick someone who is not on your tribe. But like, I do feel like the way the dynamic is, like, people would just pick people on their tribe first anyway.
Right. That's what I'm thinking is like, so if you're like the yellow tribe, everybody thinks they're in a pretty good position. Like they'd probably all pick each other.
Right.
If they were able to.
Yeah.
Which that would be great, because then there would be 2 people going there that think that they're absolutely fucked by this super unified group, and it's like
and
actually split directly down the middle. You guys can definitely survive this next one.
yeah. Like Saul, I think Saul probably benefits the most from a tribe swap here.
Yeah, I think,
and Kyle probably also.
Soul, Kyle, yeah. Yeah, Red it's so like, because I know like it on the surface it's like Soul and Teeny, Genevieve and Rome, but then we've also seen like Genevieve and Soul. We've seen Teeny and Rome. Like there's a lot of specific one-on-ones. Like I think Rome and Soul is the only like that's the only duo of people that doesn't have good feelings toward. Or I guess Teeny and Genevieve. Genevieve kind of. It sounded like Teeny and Kishan wanted to make like a 3-person thing with Genevieve. And she sold on that.
Yeah.
But she's definitely the 3rd there, so.
Right. Yeah, they're interesting. They're incestuous.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk a little Blue Tribe. The big thing here was Sue found an idol, a full-grown idol, and she had to commit murder to get it. That was just the reddest of red paint.
I like when they do this.
Yeah.
I like to see them try to get out of it. And she, like, as soon as she started her fucking spiel about, I, like, did this better than anyone and no one will ever know, I was like, no, someone's going to immediately come up to her and say something. Yeah. Because, I mean, I feel like this episode as a whole was, like, singling out people to look dumb the whole episode for some reason.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't just feel that way about Sue. I obviously always feel that way about Rome. But I feel like Andy had, like, the dunce edit with the shot in the dark, right?
I totally forgot about that. And then Sam's like, hey, just to be a good guy, like, your shot in the dark's in the ground. And then he goes over, he's like, is this anybody's? To cover his tracks. Like, why don't you just look in your bag?
That's what, like, I was kind of like, why didn't he have to fake that he was finding it? Why didn't he just go over and pick it back up? Like,
I actually do think that was required, because if they all know that Andy lost his shot in the dark, then him like eventually playing it feels like someone had to have told him. You know, so then it's like, oh, who told Andy? So I think that's why Sam was like, hey, you have to go like pretend to find it.
Yeah.
Like, don't just like pick it up.
But I did like from Sue. I do like this twist where they have like paint explode. They've done this before.
Yeah.
And like I love it every time, because like every time it's either like someone stumbles upon them right as it's happening and they're like covered, or like this where they're like, I got away with it, and then someone's like, what's that in your hair? Are you bleeding? Like,
like genuinely like feel bad, and then they just fall ass backwards into like, wait, this person is a fucking idol.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, from a place of concern to like, I just stumbled upon this information.
I would be so mad if I'm like, oh my god, like I got this thing like for an idol, and then it's like, yeah, she was like, like there's this string on the tree, like it obviously like sticks out like a sore thumb, and if I cut that rope, and then all of a sudden paint explodes over there, and that's where I'd be like, I might just leave it there. I'm like, what the fuck am I? Because her hands are drenched in paint.
Well, I thought she was gonna try to make it to the ocean, which would make more sense to me than doing it at the water hole.
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
would try to, like, make, like, a parallel trek to the ocean, like, through the jungle, and come out, like, way far away from everybody, and just, like, go from, like, the tree line to the ocean as fast as I could.
Yeah. Yeah, because that. So I don't even know the best way to get rid of that. I think the best thing to do would have been to dig a hole in
Dig
the
a hole.
sand
That's
right
what I
next
thought.
to it,
Yep,
and
and
then just
cover
like
it.
kind of pull it all over, and
Hmm.
then
She was going
maybe
with the
ready to.
water route, which, depending on how the ground conditions, you may have needed some water to, like, be able to effectively do
Yeah.
that. But she kind of just tried to wash it away. It's like,
Yeah, it's like there's nowhere for it to go.
yeah, but
It
she was
was
the
like,
perfect person for this to happen to, because like, her blonde hair, like, sticks out so
yeah,
bad in her blonde hair.
yeah. She dumped the water on it, and immediately Olivia's like, "That's not gonna work."
Yeah, it made it, like, way worse.
It's just like, oh, this paint puddle just multiplied in
Yeah,
size.
yeah. So I thought that was funny. I don't like Sue, so that's another reason why I thought it was pretty funny. But
Yeah, that tribe is so interesting, and we kind of got fucked over. Like I think after the second episode,
mhm,
where Red had not gone to tribal council, and we were
mhm,
saying maybe they're the tribe that never goes.
mhm,
Turns out this is like one of the most even pre-merges that we've had. I
right.
think maybe the most even one in the new era. But yeah, it kind of works out where we're like, well, we're gonna have fireworks if yellow or blue goes, and then
Mhm,
they both just never go again. And
yeah.
it's like a little bit of blue balls where this blue tribe, I would love to see who goes next.
Yeah, I don't know. I still don't think it's Kyle.
I don't either. I think yeah, I think who do you think would be like the cook on the boat? I think it might be like Tiana
Yeah, I would
or
agree.
Gabe. Okay. I had to think about Gabe too.
All right, let's
I don't know.
let it rip.
I don't know if I just haven't seen him enough. Like I almost moved him up in my rankings,
Right, I
and
thought
then
I had the same thought. Go ahead, though.
and then I decided not to because I was like, is he better or have I just not seen him?
Yeah,
And
right.
so I decided to keep him like a little bit lower.
Yeah.
But I am wondering if he just like was a little bit panicky, like finding like a box and a box and a box on
Hmm.
day one or whatever, and then it's like he kind of got frazzled, and
Hmm.
maybe he's like a good player.
I had the same
I don't
thought.
know.
I was like, why do I have Gabe so low? I don't remember. Like, it was so it was so long ago that he did anything bad. I mean, I was like, he must have done something to justify being that low. And then I was like, I can't, like, tell you exactly what it was, because we don't get anything from him now. It's like, maybe I will move him up. Maybe I am a Gabe fan. And then, like, the next time I see him on the screen, like, that's exactly why I didn't like, I didn't
Yeah,
like him. But yeah,
yeah. The
how do you feel about Sue finding this idol and it being full power, and she didn't have to hardly do anything compared to the box and the box and the box, and it isn't even a full power idol until you do all this shit.
Well, so it's kind of interesting because it's the second beware advantage, right?
Hmm.
So, um, I think the most interesting thing is that you're on a time crunch for before the swap,
Hmm.
and both of the other tribes did not have someone find their version of this.
Yeah,
I don't think no one in the yellow tribe even found the idol, right?
I
The
don't think
first
so.
beware advantage.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, I feel like Survivor gets ripped a little bit for making the stuff too easy to find.
Hmm.
Um, but this is kind of like I also think there's a decent shot that nobody on that tribe is looking. Oh wait,
Yeah,
no, I'm fucking stupid.
no,
Sam has it.
yeah. Same does that.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was like I was like the only person who needs to look is Andy, and then I was like, wait, he found it. I was
Hmm.
like, but he doesn't have it. Oh yes, Sam has.
And he has something too.
Well, Andy found it and put it back, remember? I don't know if that's what you're thinking of or if it's something else.
Yeah,
He has a shot in the dark now.
he, he does. Yes. Well, I'm looking on Survivor Wiki. It says he has the advantage amulet.
Oh, that's from the journey today.
Yes.
Yeah, which we could talk about now.
Yeah. He does have that. Which, is that an advantage? No.
Yeah, I did yeah. So it's Andy, Teeny, and Caroline go, and they were like, so it's a new kind of amulet, and it sounds like it fucks you over just as much.
It's the exact same
as the old
thing.
one. Yeah, so I actually like they started on the journey and they're like, "Can we just talk?" And I was like, "Oh, I walked literally 20 feet away to fill up my water."
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing I missed in the entire episode was while the water was going into my cup, I kind of couldn't hear on the TV where they were exactly explaining the rules
Mm-hmm.
of the amulet. So I don't like is it literally just the same as the like
Yeah, it's the
Drea and
same. It's
Co
the same thing.
amulet?
Where like if you have to all play it at the same time,
Hmm.
and if all three of you play it, it's one thing. If two of you play it, it's something different. And if one of you plays it, it's a regular immunity
Right.
idol. Like yeah, if there's one left in the game, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it's if everyone agrees on it, it's an idol. If all but one agree on it, it's one thing. But like, if you're the only one left, you're the only one who has to agree with yourself, pretty much, right? Is the logic there?
I think it is actually slightly different than that. Let me try to find it. Everyone remaining with an amulet always has to play it. You can't have less people playing it. So, like,
Okay.
if there are three remaining in the game, all three have to be played to be worth anything.
Okay.
If all three of them play it, it's an extra vote. If two of them play it, it's a vote steal. And if it's the last remaining player, it's an idol.
Yeah. So that's
Horrible.
yeah yeah. You don't. Yeah. That's the thing is like even if you're aligned, so like say you're number one. Say Teeny and Caroline eventually become number one allies with each other. Even if you're like, let's vote out Andy to make this a vote steal, you have to be very strongly aligned with that other person to say, all right, now let's use it as the vote steal versus using it as an idol. Like
Mm-hmm.
the only thing that helps out with that relationship moving forward is that a vote steal and an idol, like extra vote and a vote steal, you pretty much use them in the same situation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a vote steal is definitely a little bit better,
Mm-hmm.
but you essentially use them in the same situation. So to go from 3 to 2 is like you'd have no problem voting Andy out or
Right.
whoever.
Yeah.
But there is a scenario where like a vote steal works and an idol doesn't necessarily work, or it works better.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you know that you guys are down 4-3 in the numbers or whatever, and you're not sure who their 4 votes are going on, it actually makes more sense to have a vote steal.
Right.
But there's very very few situations that it actually would make more sense to team up with someone and do that.
Yeah, I think honestly, like there might be an approach here when you go on the journey to make a case that like, hey, do we like? It depends on vibes too. When you get there, it's totally like vibe dependent. If you're like the other people you're there with, like you kind of pitch like, hey, maybe we like don't take these advantages and we just work together. Like it's like the
Right.
start of like an alliance where everyone loses their vote, but you're not playing against each other. You're not pitted against each other in the post merge.
Well, that's the only thing is they didn't know what it was until after they decided.
Right. That's true. Yeah.
But I do like your logic of saying, what if we just leave all these amulets on the beach right now?
Yeah.
And we just form an alliance.
Right. Because
I do like that.
I think well there was they gave them some sort of information about what it was. They said like what you all get an advantage if one person loses their vote. It's like prisoner dilemma type stuff.
Yeah.
I think well this is the same way it was pitched previously with this twist, right?
What do you mean? Like before they found out about it?
Yeah, like this is the same way the last time they did it. This twist, like this is the same thing that happened, right?
I actually don't remember.
I think it was.
Okay.
So, I feel like there's a way for even like one person to kind of game this, to like if you because they have to agree on what's happening, right? So as long as you disagree with whatever their decisions are, you can game it so that you all lose your vote and you don't have the disadvantage. They might hate you, but like,
right?
You can be like,
oh yeah, that. Who's the person who didn't get their sandwich like last season? Or whatever?
Is it Austin?
yeah. 2 seasons ago, where he was Yeah, I forgot about that.
So like say like they're both adamant that they're not going to lose your vote and you just don't want the advantage regardless. You
Hmm.
just say, okay, I'm not going to lose my vote either, and we're going to disagree and we're not going to have the advantage. Or if they're
Right.
like in agreement that one of the other two people is going to give up their vote for the
Hmm.
advantage, you say, no, I'm also giving up my vote. So we're still in disagreement. So still we don't get the advantages.
Right. And that was Teeny's like fatal flaw, and this was when they're doing the like spill the beans portion before
Yeah.
this. She was like, Andy was like, I'm on the bottom. Caroline was like, she was pretty vague. She did a pretty good job. I thought I'm not really giving up anything.
Mm-hmm.
And Teeny was like, yeah, it's either Saul or Rome. And then it's like it's the whole tribe's going to decide on one or the other. And
Yeah.
then they're like, all right, so is anybody in a position where they could lose their vote? And she's like, uh I'm going tonight. And they're like, yeah, but you said it's fucking cut and
Yeah.
dry.
She needed to pitch it as I'm the only one who's guaranteed to go to a pre-merge tribal. I'm
Yeah,
not giving my vote up. You guys aren't guaranteed to do that. Just win the challenges and you don't have to do it.
right.
So
Yeah,
like she needed
that's
to
the other
pitch
thing
that.
too is if they knew it was amulets, that's the thing with the amulets is they always do it the last journey
Mm-hmm.
before the merge.
Mm-hmm.
So or a swap in this case.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I do think it's very interesting where like because two of these guys, at least two, are going to get swapped together.
Mm-hmm.
Like imagine you're the one. Like imagine you're say Caroline, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Andy and Teeny get swapped together, and one of them votes the other one out.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just improved drastically for you, and you
Right.
didn't have to do anything.
Yeah.
And then now it's at the spot where you could actually maybe work with the other person.
Right. You can't work with three people doing it. Like there's way too much like uncertainty and
Yeah,
lying
I
and yeah.
I almost think that they should. I mean, I do like the idea of. Well, I do and I don't. Of, you agree to do this thing with these people, and then all of a sudden it's like actually you're gonna eventually want to vote each other out.
Mm-hmm.
With this thing. Um, and I like the idea of it not just being like, hey, these three people randomly just get something that if they work together, it's like a superpower.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the concept of doing it in a way where you kind of force the people to like work together against their better judgment. Like imagine seeing Caroline and Teeny, like they're not really tied to Andy. Like on the surface, it's just this guy from another tribe that he's now on their swap tribe or the merge or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But they like start to play with him and they're like, this guy sucks to play with.
Right.
And but like the idea of like whatever the advantage is, as long as all three people play it together, if it's so sweet that you can't get rid of him, then seeing them try to keep his head above water.
I agree. I think the powers should be opposite, where the less people who have it in the game remaining, the power gets worse. So like you're incentivized to keep them around even if you can't justify to your alliance why you want to do that. Like if your alliance doesn't know you have this, like and you have to justify like why you don't want to vote Andy out. Like why are you banging for him? Like
right.
You gotta like justify that. Like I think it is much more interesting to have it work the other way with like it being more strong with three people remaining and less strong with one person remaining.
Yeah, I agree with that because then you could say like, oh, like these people just they get a big advantage together and they get an alliance made for each other. And it's like, well, on the surface, yes, but also these are three people that you haven't spoken to yet in the game, other than watching Andy's meltdown. That's like the most interaction you've had with either of these two people. And now, like, in order to get the really good thing, you're forced to do something you don't really want to do. It's either that or form a genuine alliance with them, and then it gets easier.
Right.
But then, like you said, you're trying to justify it to people that you've been playing with for like 10 days at this point. Like, actually, we're gonna keep this Andy guy who's fucking up all of our plans.
Right.
And you're trying to like you could say like, hey, we have the amulet. Like, I need him around. And it'll benefit us, I promise.
Yeah.
But then I think that leads to other people being like, well, this amulet trio is pretty tough. Let's target like there's a balancing act that
Right.
you've injected into the game that I think is a little better than the one they have right now.
Yeah, I agree. I don't really like this twist very much. Just I don't think it.
Yeah.
I don't think it has the effect that they want it to have.
I will. Yeah, I'm just gonna say right now, if I am ever on Survivor and I am on the amulet journey, I'm gonna pitch. Let's all just leave it here and make an alliance.
That'd be my pitch too. Like, but I said like it's very vibes based. Like, if you don't want to work with them, you might as well take the amulet then, because then you can
Right.
vote them out.
And just fucking
But
vote them out.
if
Yeah.
you are like, if you do kind of like fuck with them, then like you can say like, I think this is not. I think it is in everyone's best interest to not take the advantage.
Right. Yeah.
We just play together.
Right. All right. So yeah, real quick, we could run down the rankings for this week. We had Genevieve was our number one player this week, unanimous number one. We had Sierra 2, Sam 3, Tiana 4, Caroline 5, Andy 6. Andy 6. God damn. What a guy.
Be
Teeny-
dragged by Sam. Dragged along by
Teeny
Sam.
at 7. And then we had three-way tie, actually. Sol, Sue, and Rachel. The three-way tie for 8th. We had Kyle at 11th by circumstance. Gabe 12, Annika 13, and Rome is 14. So it is time for
Choo choo.
the Dun Chains. So
Is this? We need a line. Is this the Caroline line?
is it the Caroline? I think the line person might be. Well, I think the tribe swap, it's going to let some of the like good people in bad situations, like Kyle, Soul, like those guys, move up, and maybe some of the shit players in good situations move down.
Yeah. I don't think we have a line yet. I think too many players are jumbled.
I think a great candidate for the line though is Rachel.
Yeah, that's true.
The Caroline is pretty good as well, but I think she might be in a little too good of a spot for it.
Yeah,
she might be the high end though. She might be the,
I don't
the
like
end of
her.
the high
Is
end.
the issue? And like,
I don't either. No,
but she's not like in a bad spot. So we'll see.
She doesn't do anything objectively wrong. It's just like every time she's on, I'm like, why is this person on?
Yeah, I'm like, I just don't like what comes out of her mouth. Like, not from like a Survivor perspective. Just like, I just don't really like her.
I did think an interesting thing about Kashan was that I mentioned a few times him getting the like pointless personal stuff that like a kind of winner gets.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so now that he's gone, you kind of look at like, okay, what was the setup and payoff?
Mm-hmm.
I feel they did a lot of work on him for it to be just the like, this guy's too schemy, vote him out.
Right. Yeah, I was surprised at his edit because like,
there was a lot of, maybe there's Redemption Island in the season, we don't know.
So that leads me to believe that Genevieve is like a major player because they build Keyshawn up like that for her to take him out. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that was. I agree with that. Okay, so it is Dun Chain time.
Yes.
Keyshawn is mine to give. So a quick update: we both have Annika, and I have Andy. Right.
Which she is a good bet for a tribe swap vote out.
Yeah.
Annika, I think.
Do you have in front of you? Do I have Andy Dunchained? I forgot my paper at my apartment.
I believe you have Andy and Annika.
Okay, that's what I thought. All right. So yeah, a while back, I feel like Gabe would have been a good one here. But I mean, I think the obvious one is Rome.
Tribe swap's always tough because you don't know how it's going to shake out.
Yeah, especially with the tribe swap, like a style of play like Rome's is not going to translate well to a brand new group of people.
Right.
And if it's the same people, it also isn't going to translate very well.
Right.
So, and he has just used his last item.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going on Journey anytime soon. So he pretty much like needs to find another idol. Otherwise, he's got to go based on his own acumen. And
yes,
I don't love that for him.
He's not acumen heavy.
I wouldn't say he is. So yeah, there's a couple different places to go, but ultimately I feel like Rome is the right decision. So
I think that's a good call because we have gambled putting him off this far.
Yeah. I can't believe he's made it this long.
Yeah. So I think any week with a Rome Dun Chain is a good week. And you're not going to miss him. You know, like
right.
It's worse to miss a Rome Dun Chain than it is to put one on him too early.
Yeah. And this will be one of the most, like, not only on the nose in the edit, but like he will have to reinvent himself a lot to win the game, and he's gonna have to learn a lot about himself on the fly, if he's gonna win. And I just honestly, this is maybe like the most fucked up thing I've ever said about somebody, is I don't think he has the capacity to like change in a positive way. To be
He can
completely
only
honest,
get worse throughout his life.
I think that he's just like, he's set, like he is who he is, and like he shouldn't
That's something I'd
apologize for
say.
that. I just don't think that it translates well to Survivor for him. So.
If Soul makes the jury, Rome will not win the game.
Yeah, because he's way too good of a talker to let Rome. Dude, I really want them to both make the jury and get voted out back to back.
Yeah.
So that Soul just has to deal with him again.
Ponderosa the whole time.
Yeah. Although I feel like getting voted out of the game is kind of like, you can blame it all on the game. Of like, things kind of spiraled out of control with their relationship. And even if you don't want to hang out with them, it's easy to let bygones be bygones, I guess. Or just not talk to each other, at least.
Right. I feel like Soul is the type of person to just kind of be like, all right, it's in the past. Like, I wasn't going to put my trust in you, like, work with you in the game, but, like, it was the game. He's very much, he has, like, a dad attitude, I feel like.
Yeah.
He's very, like, paternal. To be like, he's like, all right, I just need to control my emotions in this situation. And, what benefits me the most is being nice to Rome and Ponderosa. Like, so, like, he'll do it. Like, he doesn't really, like, hold grudges, I feel like.
But I don't know how much of a dad thing that is, to be like, I need to control my emotions. At least my own dad. That's not.
Well, you come from an Italian family.
That's true. It's like, actually, the dad in a family like mine, it's his emotions become everyone's emotions. That's how it works. You either get on the train or you get run over.
Yeah. Maybe it's just like my dad. My dad is very much like that. You've met my dad a couple times.
Yeah.
But he is kind of like Saul in that sense. I don't know. I would be shocked if Rome made the jury. I would be stunned. Could you imagine Rome on the jury?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because the way he is, it's like he's gonna push so hard for somebody. Like whoever he decides is the winner, he will not shut up about it. And I'm gonna not want that person to win.
Well, I think he would also push everyone at Ponderosa not to vote for that person.
Right? Yeah, that's like he's like poisoning the well by like it's almost like what in Game Changers when I forget who says, I think Zeke says about Sarah. He's like, I will be your champion, like in this final tribal council. And he's like, it's like, okay, like Zeke, smart guy, likable. It's like, okay. And then Ozzy says to Brad Culpepper, it's like already a person that nobody likes. He's like, I will be your champion. It's like a guy who no one respects how he thinks about the game at all. He's like, that's your champion. It's like, actually, I don't want a champion. Can I just be the captain of my own argument here?
Yeah, I'll champion myself. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, we covered it all. This was a pretty solid episode, leading into a tribe swap next week. Dave, you got anything else?
No.
Neither do I. So thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you all next time.